recorded and summarized.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of Wednesday, June the 18th. My name is Ian Morrison. I'm the Director for Cowichan Lake South Scots Falls. I will be chairing today's proceedings. Prior to getting underway, I'd like to recognize that the CVRD is on the unceded territories of the Cowichan, Malahat, Subasat, Halalt, Penelakut, Staminas, Liaxin, Pakwachan, DT Dot, and Pachi Dot nations, whose people have walked gently here for thousands of years. And I'll talk slowly, hoping that Director Abbott arrives shortly, and I welcome Director Acton online. We have before us item 1, approval of the agenda. Ms. Boyd, are there any additions, subtractions, anything we need to know about?
No, Chair, not at this time.
We have a motion to approve the agenda as circulated. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. The motion carries. Next to item 2, adoption of the minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of June the 4th, 2025 be adopted. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. The motion carries. Any business arising from the minutes, Ms. Boyd?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Brings us to public input period. The public input period is to offer the public an opportunity to comment on an agenda item before the committee considers the item. The public input period procedure policy allows for an allotment of 15 minutes where the speaker is welcome to comment on any items on the agenda up to a maximum of 3 minutes. This excludes items that are or have been subject of a public hearing. Input from the community is valued and appreciated. We request that input is presented in a friendly and respectful manner. Your cooperation in maintaining a safe, respectful, and orderly environment is greatly appreciated. And with that, I would invite anyone in the gallery who would like to provide input to the committee members today to please come forward to the lectern. There's a button on the base of the microphone. Please press that, introduce yourself, and what item you'd like to speak to.
On the welcome notice? Yeah. Okay, sorry. My name is Jane Walton. I am from Saltair, which is in Area G, and I live on Hillside Road. And I have prepared a little statement that I'll read, and then I will give you all a copy. I'll have the secretary run it off. I've come to speak about the great concern that many residents have with the proposed land use designation changes in Area G, Saltair. We do not support the growth containment boundary and the designation country suburban being extended to all of residential Saltair. Currently, Saltair zoning limits in our 2 areas limit the lot size to 1 hectare or 2 acres. This was to preserve a green belt that would preserve nature and many forested areas. Reducing that 1 acre to half the size will encourage and eventually result in clear cutting of all the forest areas in residential Saltair. For example, the human footprint extends across entire lots in the current 1 acre subdivisions in Saltair. Fire Smart BC is now recommending that forests be 30 meters or 100 feet from a house, so that doesn't leave any trees on a 1 acre lot. Cutting down so many forests does not reflect your plans and your concerns about protecting natural areas, limiting habitat loss, keeping natural areas for climate change. And new provincial legislation will allow people to build auxiliary suites, so the density concern is not the same. We respectfully request the land use designation small lot rural be extended to the current 2 acre minimums in Saltaire residential areas, or have a community meeting in Saltaire to engage and inform residents of upcoming changes. Residents can help you organize the meeting. We recognize the CVRD is well intended, but the majority of residents weren't and aren't aware of this tremendous change. We all expected another community meeting in Saltaire as we were promised at the visioning meeting. A community meeting gives people the opportunity to ask for clarification because there's a lot of professional jargon in many of the reports. For instance, density in Saltaire is defined as 2.5 UPH. What's a UPH? I didn't know. Or contradictory facts such as a map on page 113, which shows a small future growth area circled in central commercial Saltaire, but the new designation country suburban will affect the whole area. Lastly, we wonder why the CVRD didn't inform residents about these very significant land use changes with the same care that you exercised in notifying residents about the 3-stream curbside collection. Land use changes are more important because their consequences are almost irreversible. And so we very respectfully ask and hope that you will reconsider this and or have a community meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to invite anyone else up that would like to provide comment or information, remarks to the committee before we proceed to our regular business. Ms. Boyd, do we have anyone online that would like to provide comment?
No, Chair, nobody's online.
Going, gone? Next item takes us to delegations, and I see we have no delegations today, which brings us to correspondence. Ms. Boyd, would you read the recommendation for C1, please?
Thank you, Chair. That it be recommended to the board that a grant and aid Electoral Area A, Mill Bay, Malahat, in the amount of $1,000 be provided to Coatson Cultural Connections Society to support the Island Indigenous Food Gathering.
Turn to the director for the area. Would you like to move that? Is there a seconder? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, the motion carries. Should note that items coming from today's meeting recommended to the board will be considered at the next regular board meeting on June the 25th. And that brings us now to item 7. We have a couple of information items. We've got Electoral Area E APC minutes and Electoral Area H APC minutes. Any discussion, comments, remarks in regards to those items? Seeing none, let's move on to reports. That brings us to R1, and which staff person? Mr. Buchan. Welcome, Mr. Buchan.
Thank you. I don't have a slide deck for you guys today. I can keep this pretty quick. The purpose of this report is to reintroduce a combined OCP and rezoning application for the property at 1755 Mill Bay Road. As a bit of background, the agent has proposed to rezone a portion of the property to a modified light industrial zone to facilitate a range of industrial, commercial, and residential uses. The current application has been in process since April of 2024. Staff note that there was previously an application submitted in 2022 that lapsed. At the July 24th, 2024 meeting, the EASC directed for additional information to be received. That information is still outstanding. There was a few deferrals to allow the agent some more time to get that information. The reason for those deferrals, the reason for the lack of information today is that the province has issued restoration orders for the site. So we've been informed that some of the package is not available right now, and we've also been informed that the province issued that order last week on Friday. So we're unable to review the pieces that we have without the full context of the site. If the board grants a further deferral, staff anticipate having an update in October based on the context of the information provided. The agent is in the room and may be wanting to present. They've also attached a letter to this report as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buchan. Don't go anywhere just yet. So just as a reminder to everyone, any questions, remarks are in regards to the material contained in the report only. We've got Mr. Buchan, and just for explanation to the gallery and the agent for the application, we'll see if there's any questions for Mr. Buchan from committee members. At the conclusion of that, if the agent would like to provide any additional remarks or comments, there may be questions from committee members for the agent as well. And following conclusion of that, and all questions from committee members are answered, we will go to consider the resolution that's been recommended by staff, or any other recommendations that may be part of this. So I now turn to committee members. Are there any questions for Mr. Buchan at this point? Oh, yes, look at that. Oh. Director Martman.
I felt I should do a Horseshack moment. Thank you for bringing this back to us. I'm just interested on the October 15th date. What lended to that being the right date?
Thank you. Through the chair.
By the way, it's my birthday, so I didn't know if that was considered in the moment.
Through the chair, staff needs some time to review the information when it comes in. So the October date is giving us a bit of breathing room. Some staff also take vacations in the summertime, and there might be some staff coverage that needs to be dealt with. I personally will be out of the office for about a month due to some paternity leave.
And congratulations on that. Sorry, thank you for the answer.
Any other questions for Mr. Buchan? Seeing none, thank you very much. Don't go too far away. Now I would like to invite the applicant up if they would like to provide any additional remarks. Welcome. Press the button. It's red. That means go.
Thank you, directors, for allowing me to have a few minutes to discuss this application. First of all, I wanted to thank you guys, inform you that Mr. Buchan has been phenomenal. I mean, he's a true consummate professional. He has been very helpful. He's given us a lot of insight, and he's been very, very patient with me. So I wanted to first bring that to your attention. We have had a bit of a holdback because we had the province had basically placed a stop work order because the CVRD planning environmental planner had raised some issues with the province in regards to the site, which we've worked through with the province. And as I said, we finally received our order as of Friday. The reason for the holdup is because that order, we believe, is going to be integral to the actual answers that we need to provide to the board in regards to the questions that were raised. So we would appreciate if you would follow through with Mr. Buchan's recommendation to extend the deadline to October. Any questions?
Turn to committee members. Any questions for the applicant? Looks like you get off easy today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Turn to the director for the area. What's your pleasure?
Move the recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the item? Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. That it be recommended to the board that application number RZ 24A01, 1755 Mill Bay Road, PID 000446670 be considered at the October 15th, 2025 Electoral Area Services Committee meeting.
I'll call a question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. The motion carries. I just look at the fact that we're on R2 and just prior to the meeting getting underway, Ms. Trelf had noted that she's at another meeting not far away and will be coming back. So I think she'd indicated a desire to be here for this item. So perhaps we could jump ahead and go to R3 and we'll come back to R2 in a moment. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
My name is Mark Van den Dungen. I'm a Parks and Trails planner here at the CVRD. I'm speaking towards R3, which is pertaining to Little Beach Park. It's close to Lake Cowichan, about like 5 minutes outside on Greendale Road there. We have, through gas tax funding, started to assess the site because we newly acquired this park a couple years ago. And there are some erosion and some safety concerns about this park because it is actually quite small, but also heavily used. It's well known to be the tube shack exit point. So it's heavily used through the summertime mainly, and then in the wintertime, not so much. You might see some fishermen there going to the shore and so on. But we have procured McElhaney, along with some environmental consultants here, Polster Environmental and Swell, to assess the site, to see what are the dangers, what should be considered, and what are our best options moving forward with our management of this newly acquired park. We have Nigel online here, I believe, and he's prepared to do a short presentation, like 5 to 10 minutes, on the hydrological assessment that he's done and some of the options that he's come up with. So I'll leave it to Nigel to do that presentation, and then I'll speak towards this item after that. Thank you.
Welcome, Nigel. Do we have a presentation queued up, or are you going to queue something up, or where do we go from here?
That's a good question. So I did send along the presentation, but I was thinking that I would share my screen here, and then that way I've got full control and just sort of go that way.
Okay,
everyone?
we could do that if you would, and you may need to take your presentation down when you're finished so I can see the rest of the screen, but please proceed. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
Has he been?
Just tell me if you can see my screen.
We can see your screen.
Can you see not sure which one is sharing right now, if it's the one that has the slide deck on the left?
It is,
Or
yes.
is it is? Okay. I'll just proceed forward this way then. All right, so like Mark said, CVRD retained McElhaney, leveraging both our Duncan office and the Nanaimo office where I sit to conduct the engineering or the hydrotechnical component, and then sub to us was Swell, who did the environmental components, and then Polster, who did the bioengineering aspects for the project. So just a little overview. Here's Little Beach Park on the right here. It's a small strip of land along Greendale Road, Cowichan River, and about just a couple kilometers upstream of here is the outlet of Cowichan Lake. So from our perspective, the scope was to look at all the background data that's available for Little Beach. That included all the environmental known species in the area, collecting hydrologic data from the Water Survey of Canada gauge, and then complete topographic and bathymetric survey. So that's collecting the data on the ground and in the water there. Following that, we did a site assessment and then completed our independent disciplines assessments. So from the engineering perspective, we did the hydrologic, trying to figure out what flows are going through there, and then the hydraulic, what those flows mean in terms of velocities, water levels, that sort of stuff. The environmental assessment looked at the different species in the area, utilization throughout the different times of year, as well as the riparian vegetation, trees, shrubs, that sort of stuff. And those sort of came together to create our report. And then following this report that we previously submitted here, looking to go into the detailed design of that and ultimately the permitting for it. So some of the key issues with the site, so Mark said, erosion. So this is a panoramic view taken in late September of 2024, showing the existing bank line. Upstream is on the left-hand side, downstream is the right-hand side, and you can see that these banks are severely undercut, threatening these trees here, and this issue sort of all the way along here, as well as starting to undermine and scour the banks upstream of the existing access or beach access there. So other considerations that we're looking at for the site was improving the access down to the water. This photo was taken in, I believe, March of this year. So this is just further downstream from the access. The stairs are just around this corner up here on the left. And so here we have an ephemeral creek that runs and enters in on the picture on the right-hand side. And we have a little vertical drop here, and here's Greendale Road here. So one is looking at improving beach access through this location, and then also restricting some upstream access that our park owners are currently doing. They're scrambling up and trampling the existing vegetation and causing localized disturbance and packing or compaction of the soil. So the hydrological part, so like I said, looked at the gauge upstream of there, tried to pull out what sort of flows the site sees, or exhibit, sorry, and come up with what was a design flow or design consideration for the site. And we settled on the 20-year design flood event from a velocities perspective, mainly due to the use of the site and also trying to balance it with the end goal of not trying to design to an extreme event like a 200-year flood, which would result in some pretty major project footprints and costs, and just trying to balance that as well with how it will look as a park. So from there, we then developed a 2D model of the site and sort of ran that and figured out what sort of water surface elevations are at the 20-year and below, the flow depth, velocities, and all this sort of stuff feeds into our design considerations. So I just want you to note that the difference between the 2-year and the 20-year flood elevation is about 50 cents, give or take. So our environmental assessment, as I said earlier, they're looking at basically the existing conditions from the perspective of how it's being, just how it sites from the environmental side, the types of trees that are there, sort of known issues. So as I mentioned, rogue trail use, people climbing all over the place, the small tributary down at the downstream end, which actually feeds into a cold water refugia. They outlined the types of vegetation in the park. Some of the noted ones that we should be aware from the invasive sides are the reed canary grass, your typical Himalayan blackberries, and wall lettuce. And then our species of use are the aquatic species, or coho, chum, cutthroat. And then the other one of note there is the western pearl mussel, which is known to be just off the park there. And then they also, this is from Swell, and then they kind of pinpoint the time period where any in-stream works could be completed, and that's in that August 15th to September 15th window. Mainly restricted due to cutthroat trout presence. So options consideration, with all this sort of background information, we came up with 5 options that we did not pursue. So one of them is do nothing. So basically just let it go and let the banks erode and go back to or just allow natural processes to occur. Gabions, so those are wire mesh baskets that you can construct near vertical, but they need to be filled with rock. We remove that as an option just due to several factors. One being they're really difficult to construct and retain their shape. They're susceptible to rust, vandalism. People can break them, and then they, with the wires exposed, they could pose a safety risk to public who are climbing on them or near them. Another approach we looked at was bioengineered solutions, but that would really only offer bank protection around the 2-year water level. Everything below that, which we're currently seeing eroding, would persist. Engineered log jams, which are more habitat-friendly features that can be used to push flows off banks and bolster the areas. Concern with that is that they pose a safety hazard for park or water users, as they could create an impingement hazard leading to drowning. And then the final one was looking at shoreline reprofiling. So basically just filling in the bank with some cobbles and gravels and make it look like a natural bank line. So we actually took that last one and ran with that and came up with 2 different options for this. And the first one is called a void-filled riprap. So it's very similar to the reprofiling, but within that reprofiled or infilled area is riprap. So the riprap provides the bones, and the cobble gravel matrix is the softening of that. The idea there is riprap would be installed with the gravel and boulders matrix at a 1.5 to 1 side slope. The rock would be placed up to the 2-year water level, and everything above that would be bioengineered solutions. A slight alteration to that one would be a stack rock wall approach, using only the larger riprap or the larger size of the riprap fraction and stacking that at 1 to 1. So it's a bit more of a rock wall. You won't be able to put as much naturalization components of the cobbles and gravels, but you would fill the voids with sediments and stuff like that. And very similar to the first option is that we would have the rock constructed up to that 2-year water level, and then above that is bioengineering. Then associated with either one of these options is 3 options. So option 1 for the bioengineered solution is just do nothing, but then we have 3 different bioengineering shoreline protection schemes utilizing either live staking or rooted live staking above the riprap, and then rooted live staking above and within it. And as well, associated with the concept for the shoreline protection was some park enhancement options. So the inclusion of split rail fencing to exclude people from areas, keeping them out of the riparian area, and to allow for the trees and shrubs that would be planted to reestablish, as well as the secondary beach access, which I discussed earlier, now down by the Ephemeral Creek. And then other optional bioengineering works would be some upper terrace planting to further stabilize the shoreline, and removal and breed canary grassmen. This is the design that's been presented. There's a lot of lines going on here, a lot of information, but really the part that we want to draw attention to are the purple and blue lines. And those are the footprint extent of the riprap. So, or the shoreline protection measure, depending on which option. So the green line is the first option. So option A, the void-filled riprap. You can see it kind of extends down. And then the second option, the stacked rock wall, because it has a bit tighter or a steeper slope, it brings the footprint in, and that's shown by the purple line there. The blue dashed lines are the modeled water surface elevations at varying flows. So the one along or closest to the river is our summer water levels. And then working up the bank, it goes from 2, 10, and 20. So you can see that there are areas within the protection locations that they are inundated arguably every year during that 2-year water level. Down at the downstream end, is the proposed stairs, which we're looking at doing some rock stairs. So just a series of, cut boulders that are placed along the bank that people can use to pull their kayaks or tubes in and out, and as well as some exclusion fencing at opportune locations to prevent the rogue trail use. That is some Class C cost estimates. So we did a relatively high level of Class C cost assessment for each of the options with 40% contingency. Some of the aspects that we looked at was material costs, reuse of materials, the split rail fencing, signage to keep people out of areas, traffic control, hazard tree assessment, and tree protection. And when we put all those pieces together, we have a cost anywhere from around 98,500 to 123, depending on which option is pursued, either the stacked rock with the option 2, the least cost or least expensive cost of the bioengineered solution, to a void filled riprap with option 4. I have not included the cost for the optional pieces within that.
All right. Thank you, Nigel. So we undertook this assessment basically to understand the magnitude of what kind of issue we're dealing with, and also the magnitude of the project that might have to come to deal with that potential issue. We've also understand like the management of Little Beach far extends past just the shoreline, but up into the roadway, which is often an issue in terms of traffic at the peak periods of time during the summer. So I've also started conversations with the Ministry of Transportation and Transit around that, and they've been internally discussing that to see what kind of options they can bring forward in terms of some changes there to make that function a little bit better. And we also would like to, as the recommendation before you states, reach out to the public and get basically everyone's feedback about how they would like to use this site or currently use, or whether they support more of a naturalized or less, access for certain uses and stuff like that, or their ideas on the road itself, if the ministry is to come back with some ideas of how we can go about that. And there, as I stated, this is just like an initial understanding of everything. So there's still like the permitting and the detailed design of this that would have to follow after this if we were to choose to proceed with this. So there's still a lot of work ahead of us, but we're still in the information gathering stage and like to hear what the community has to say about this little asset that we have there. So I'm here to answer any questions, and I believe Nigel is still online. Yeah, he's still online too, if there's any questions to be had.
Thank you, and just maybe a little bit of extra background here, and thank you very much for the report, and I see Director Deck as on the speakers list. This is a very, it's preliminary, but an excellent report, and it's, and for those of you that are wondering, this isn't a regional park, it's a Electoral Area F community park. So those costs will be borne out of Function 236. This was important to know what the state of the environment was at that spot in a point in time. That was what I thought was critical, and I think staff have agreed to know what we have and what the status of the erosion and all of that is at this point. And as I was listening to the report, I was just thinking about when it noted the do nothing option, which really isn't a realistic option, because if that area erodes and Greendale Road is threatened, MOTT will act, and they won't ask. They will just act and do whatever they need to do to preserve the road. So it's not really a do nothing option. I think it would be wise to do something. But the whole point in this, and I'd met with Mr. Farquhar previously in discussing this, there's a high level of interest in the community because of how well it is used and the great potential. It's a beautiful spot. So having this report done has been very important so that we know that the information is there. Now it's important to hear from the community what's important to the community as far as usage, activities, amenities that could become part of that. And knowing that we have a couple of scraps of land there and MOTT has a few more scraps of land, and it would have to be a collaborative project for anything to move forward. So the next parts, as far as I'm concerned, are to go to the community and have that meeting. But I'm not going to dive into any of the details of the report because it is quite a full report with a lot of scientific and technical background, which I'm no expert, but it's good to know that it's been done, and it looks like it's been done well. So I will now go to directors with questions. Director Deck, you're up. If I can get your microphone. There you go.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the report. So I've got a couple of questions. The first one is, so in terms of priorities for restoring, maintaining the banks and so on, I'm just wondering if it's recreation or aquatic life that's your prime interest here.
Through the chair to Director Deck, I would say it's both. Because it is a community park, it will see recreational use, and it has seen a lot of recreational use. But at the same time, we want to balance that with any environmental concerns, and we will have to go through like a rigorous permitting process with DFO in order to achieve that. So we're trying to basically isolate where the recreational uses will be on site, so it's not spread across the site and it doesn't damage the entirety of the site and the environmental integrity that it could have or does have. There are some water flows that come in through a culvert onto the site as well that we're trying to contain. So we're trying to basically manage how the site is used recreationally. But to answer your question, I would say it's both that we're really trying to achieve here.
Thanks. And my next question is, I understand that there are reds there. Fish spawn and leave their eggs there, and it's not exactly the best place to be a baby fish or a unborn, so because those reds get trampled very easily, and then that's it. They don't go on to live and spawn again. So I'm wondering if the community input that would inform you would be leaning recreational, or like how do you get more input than just the people who were on site using that recreationally, as opposed to citizens who might be more concerned about the fish?
Through the chair, we'll also reach out to certain interest groups, like I think it's the Cowichan River Ecological Society. I forget what. Yeah, and like groups like that, and certain folks within the community that have more professional lens on this, that are more concerned about the environmental side of things. So we're hoping through this process that we'll hear from both sides of it and not just the recreational uses of it, because we don't want to just create like a high density recreational site. Like most of our parks in the region, we want to be considered the environmental sides of it as well, because that's part of like managing any sort of park, is we want to like protect the environmental assets that we have, because it's not like a recreational center per se, where it's just like a field and rec uses per se. We have like environmental assets that we want to protect too.
Yes, yes. I hope that priority is not forgotten, because I know the tubers end up there and swimmers in seasons where the reds are there. So I'm deeply concerned that the fish will come second, which means come last. So, thanks.
Director Nicholson. Director Nicholson.
Thank you. Thanks. Good report. I have two questions. One is just about the structural options. What's the difference between the two? Is it just looks, or from a biological functioning point of view for the fish? Is there any difference, or?
Sounds like that's for you, Nigel.
Yeah. So structurally, or from a fish perspective, they'll be relatively similar. It's rock. However, the first option will be more of a natural rock with more cobbles and gravel, so you have more ability for invertebrates to be in that area. So it could be, they would, their food source would be there. The other one is more of a stacked rock feature, which has less of that rounded, soft looking. But I think from a fish perspective, it's pretty much the same. From the structural side, it's really just that how far the erosion or the shoreline protection measure extends out into the river itself. So, we're trying to minimize that footprint and prevent any of those environmental conflicts. Is really what it is. I would like to note, though, too, like the site is difficult from the perspective that it is an outside bend on the Cowichan River, which, the river wants to migrate laterally, right? So it has a lot of erosive forces along that bank, and that's why we're seeing the scour that we see there.
Right. So I'm really concerned about the fish too. So a couple of years ago, there was a really significant fish kill in the Cowichan River. And what usually happens in the summer, it's a combination of cumulative kind of stresses on the fish that then tips them over the edge. And it is likely that we're not going to create a high density recreational site. We have a high density recreational site. And there's a lot of tubers that use that portion of the river. There's concerns about sunscreen. There's concerns about all the, bodily effluent that goes into the water, not to mention the alcohol. And, it's just like a heavy use kind of a situation that is likely contributing to stress on fish in that river system. So I think it's really important that we get this right, and I suspect in the end we're going to end up to a situation where we're going to have to manage the number of people using that stretch of the river at any one time, because it's crazy, right? You can do all the road improvements and site improvements you want, but there really is not much space and not a lot of water in the river anymore in the summertime. So it strikes me that it is a really good idea to go out and talk to the community about this. Not that they'll be able to inform us on the options, but they should be, some of the technical people should be able to inform us on the options from a fish perspective, because I don't think we've done enough work on that area. And so I really want this to go to the Cowichan Watershed Board if that's possible, because they're there, they've been really involved in this work on the fish kill, so they are right up on top of that. Yeah, so I think that's really important. And I think we need to start a discussion about how we manage these really sensitive, recreation's great, but if we really want to make sure we don't screw up the environment anymore, then we have to do more than what we're planning to do now. It's not just a few fences isn't going to do it. It's my position.
Thank you for that, Director Nicholson. And yes, the tubers and the kayakers and everybody enter in the town of Lake Cowichan, and they exit in Electoral Area F. So collaboration is going to be very important amongst not just the local governments, but MOTT, the BC Ambulance Service, the RCMP, the fire department, the Swiftwater Rescue people. Everybody's going to need to be involved, including those people concerned about ecology and the environment. I've got Director Wilson next.
Thank you, Chair. I fully agree with you that this is not a do-nothing scenario. We have to do something here. And I fully understand that funding is going to be coming from gas tax and from the Area F. But one of the things that concerns me here is the cost at the moment, $50,000 on a study, possible another $100,000 for the work, so $150K at the moment. good enough. My area is not paying for it. Good luck with the rest of it, kind of thing. But I'm always amazed at the high cost of doing business by local governments. This seems to be a huge amount. So I'll ask the question of two. Why was such an extensive and expensive study necessary to put a few rocks on a bend? That's the best I can do right now.
I want to call on Mr. Farquhar to see if he might be able to enlighten us on this, because this, in my view, this was the most important first step that could be done, was the snapshot as to where we are. So can you help us out there?
I agree, you know, and if I can, you've made a comment, I can make a comment as well, I'm sure. But here's the point. Yes, by all means, do a study. Okay, yeah, Mr. Farquhar, go ahead.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So with any element that deals with riverfront, ocean fronts, lake fronts, you're dealing with multiple environments, and you're dealing with areas of expertise where we don't have that internally, so we are looking to bring out the experts from our community, our local consultants, to do the kind of work. The investigative work requires a lot of field work. It requires analysis back in their offices, et cetera. So as Mark was mentioning as well, we've also got issues where you're dealing with a number of issues around permitting and applications and processes outside of the CVRD that have to be undertaken as well to ensure that when we're looking at a project like this, where we're looking for community input, we're dealing with multiple partners, we're wanting to balance recreational interests with environmental values. There are a number of factors that are brought into fold that take time and cost money for those that we need to bring in to do the work to make sure we get it right.
Thank you, Mr. Farquhar. Follow up? Oh, turned your mic off.
I did.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Farquhar. That's great. One of the questions that obviously comes from that is that at the moment, we're looking at 100K at least. That's the estimate at the moment for this work done. But when will the work be done? Will it be in the next 6 months or the next year? And by that time, what's the likely cost likely to be? And I'm asking, I'm purely interested in the finances here because, as you know, I've had experience of delays costing lots and lots of money.
Mr. Farquhar?
Mr. Chair, through to Director Wilson, there is no timeline at the moment other than the report before you, which is seeking direction to engage with the community to bring more information to fold.
Okay, thank you.
Director McClinton.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, great report. Really enjoyed listening to that. It's been probably close to 20 years since I've tubed the Cowichan, and you know, as we were talking about it, I mean, if it ever got brought forward, I'd be in support of looking at this as a regional park. I know it's a small parcel, but truly for some people brought from all over the province to use that area. And I'm not saying we can't do better, but I definitely see the regionality to it. It's in the Cowichan River as well, which Cowichan Valley Regional District. So I have a couple questions. The weir, which was, I think the province felt a lot of pressure after the fish kill to bring that forward and give us some funding for that. How would that impact the water flows once that comes online, the new weir with the elevated height?
I'm not actually too familiar with that. I don't know if you are, Nigel.
I would have to take a look at the operations of that, but a lot of these flows are based off of when the Cowichan is in the flood, right? So I'd have to see if the new weir changes how that flood profile is on the Cowichan, but yeah, I wouldn't want to venture to say that it wouldn't change it, but that would be, I'd need to look at that, but
Yeah.
That's really the short of it. It's I just don't know how that design's going. I know the intent is to raise the weir for summer storage and stuff like that, but I don't think it'll impact the outlet. During the winter storms.
The weir's generally not on control when those flows are being calculated. So.
Okay, thank you. And just curious, like, again, it's been so long since I was even there, like the space itself, like I saw the numbers there, but like, it seems to me like it's just a path in, path out. Is there, like, what would even be the potential for doing anything else there? Is there any, like, realistic potential for picnic tables, whatever, or is it just sort of managing the traffic there?
Mr. Van den Duncan.
Through the chair. Yeah, as you mentioned, it is a small site. It is quite constrained. So we'll have to hear what the community says in terms of what, amenities they might want to see there. But it is small, and there might not be a room for all the wants and desires of this spot in itself, because we can't put all our hopes and dreams on such a small park. But, there might be some necessities that are, would be highly used at that site in particular, and there might be certain spots for it, but it's not going to be one of, like our regional parks where we have like multiple amenities there to offer people because it is so small.
One quick comment, and so I was thinking about the weir. I was actually, and maybe I misheard a part in the report, but like the erosion, like when the water's low, right? My thought is that they're going to be holding water back. The water flows will be higher for much longer in the year. It'd be good to at least reference or find out what it's supposed to happen when the weir's online and holding water back. So for the next time, Thank you.
I've got McClinton Director up next, but I don't know who that would be. Oh, that's Director Segal. Go for it, Director Segal.
Thank you. Director Nicholson mentioned this. I just wanted to make sure it would be actioned at some point, but just the involvement of the Cowichan and Watershed Board. I know you mentioned other engagement with First Nations and other organizations. Is the Cowichan and Watershed Board a part of that plan?
We can make it a part of
Yeah.
the plan.
Okay. I just want to make sure it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, Director Wilson's mic's still hot, but
Oh, is it? Oh.
done. Okay, good. So, seeing no other questions, if someone would like to move the recommendation, is there a seconder? Like to speak to it briefly. Thank you, all my colleagues, for your remarks. Again, this was a snapshot as to, in my mind, the environmental and physical conditions of that spot. It is quite limited. I think there's going to be a great deal of input from the community everywhere, everything from parking, traffic flows, amenities, washrooms, picnic tables, the likes. The more, the merrier, as far as I'm concerned. The better, the more diverse groups, stakeholders. Clearly, I've already extended the invitation to Sabasat to participate, and I'm hoping to have a very good, well-attended event with groups from all walks attending, and I'll work with staff on scheduling. It'll likely be a Saturday morning and an open house, and I would invite all of you to come and attend as well. This will go through to the board for next week, but would encourage all of you to support this, and I'll go to Director Nicholson next. Director Nicholson.
Thanks. I just want to make sure that we don't raise the public's expectations. I think that it's really important that they understand the limitations of the site and the concerns that there are about the.
Thank you for that. So seeing no other hands, no other comments, I will call the question. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Thank you, Mark. And that will now bring us back to R2. Oh, I didn't read that one out, did I? Okay, everybody knew what it was. Should we take a couple of minutes before we start this one? Anybody need a break? I got nods. Let's take 5 minutes, and then we'll crack on. Okay, good. Ms. Boyd, we're buffering. This one?
Yeah, that person from my area.
Your mic is, I have this one.
Welcome back, everyone. I believe we have Ms. Garnett at the lectern. We are on item R2, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. I have a presentation to share. I am joined by two folks joining online, Chelsea Whitty and Aaron Licker, who I will introduce shortly. But I will introduce the staff report and what we're speaking here about today. Then midway through, I'll pass it over to them, and then I'll conclude with some next steps and recommendations. Sorry, this was glitchy before and it's glitchy now. There we go. Okay, so this staff report is with respect to the Complete Communities Grant 2 final report and a presentation of the draft local area plans as well. So here we are here today to present the local area plan, the implementation, monitoring, and reporting plan, which was a key deliverable of the Complete Communities Grant 2. And then to present the draft local area plans in their current form, specifically the Complete Communities 2 deliverables, as well as the changes from engagement this spring. So just as a reminder, the local area plans are Schedule B of the draft official community plan for the electoral areas, and they are following a different development timeline and will follow, the intention would be to adopt the local area plans after all the other draft OCP schedules. The local area plans, they build upon the OCP vision, goals, and policies, and the intention is to help guide growth that supports the creation of more place-specific communities and sort of recognize the uniqueness of the electoral areas in this broader region. It's important to note that we are intentionally not trying to replicate the overarching policies in Schedule A. So a lot of the content we might cover today will come back to that fundamental point of not being redundant with the overarching Schedule A, as well as the information in the mapping schedules and Schedule C. So we are developing, we have developed draft local area plans, 9 of them for each of the electoral areas you see here, and 1 joint plan for D and E. And I do have maps that to just go through these each briefly. This map is, of course, of Mill Bay, but it is of Schedule L. It's an excerpt from Schedule L of the draft OCP, which maps the boundaries of the local area plan as well as the land use designations. So, of course, here we have Mill Bay. There's a local area plan for Shawnigan Lake, capturing sort of the north end of Shawnigan Lake and the connections to both the Mill Bay plan and the Cobble Hill plan. The Cobble Hill plan is here, capturing the core, the residential area around the Trans-Canada Highway, and then extending to include Arbutus Ridge as well. In Cowichan Bay, we've got, of course, the core, and then also extending southward to include the area near Bench School and the Kings Coat Road area. This is the joint plan for D and E, so capturing the Coxisla Village and Eagle Heights in Area E. In Honeymoon Bay, we've got a local area plan that extends from the Walton Road area all the way through to Missachi and Bear Lakes, and that also includes Paldy, which is sort of the brown you see up here. In Area G, we have most of the developed part of Saltaire in the local area plan. In Area H, the Diamond, so that includes the area just north of Ladysmith, but not extending north beyond the Stewminas First Nation Reserve. And then in Yubo Mead Creek, sort of a long linear local area plan. And the boundaries of the local area plans do generally, but not consistently, align with the growth containment boundaries established through the draft MOCP. So the local area plans have been in development since 2022, when we presented a local area plan sequencing strategy report, and a lot of background work went into that. In step 1, we looked at visioning and special places and descriptions. And at that time, we also successfully were awarded the first Complete Communities grant, and that provided some spatial analysis on the 4 lenses that the Complete Communities grant's based on: the daily needs, transportation, infrastructure, and housing. And we had a very thorough community engagement process in step 1. Where we went, I think, to 9 different communities, had 18 different workshops, and a community survey as well. In step 2, or in phase 2, in 2024, the local area profiles report, which provided sort of baseline information and some scenario options for the local area plans. This was created and presented to this committee, as well as the alternate futures report, which evaluated the different scenarios and tried to close the gap on sort of that complete community goal that we're sort of looking for in our local area plans and supported by the grant. And then more recently, in step 3, the local area plan implementation report has been prepared, and the draft local area plans include policy actions and monitoring and reporting framework. We've had discussions with First Nation to incorporate history and land use planning discussions as well, and we've got draft local area plans resulting from that. So the engagement in 2025, just to provide a quick high-level overview, with First Nations, we've had a really rich discussions and sharing of information with Malahat and Sioux-Bassett. Malahat Nation provided the translation of vision and also provided some history for the A, B, and C plans. Sioux-Bassett has shared their overall plans as well as photos. They will be sharing a map of traditional place names that is not in this current draft, but will be in an updated draft local area plan. And then with Stewminis, we had a ground truthing walk of Bush Creek related to the Diamond local area plan. And the First Nations who participated in this were, there was an honorarium within the Complete Communities grant to sort of support their involvement. We then presented the draft LAP, an earlier version. In March, we had meetings with all the advisory planning commissions, and I do have slides and subsequent slides to sort of summarize the comments from each of the APCs and the changes that were made. So this is just a high-level summary of changes, the feedback we received. We have also had an online survey where we had 65 responses, so not a very high turnout on the online survey, but we did manage to get some sort of feedback on the heritage candidates, amended visions and descriptions, and amenity action response in Couch and Bay. The online survey summary of changes is in attachment A, so that's all summarized there for you. We also did receive comments that relate to, again, larger Schedule A, Schedule L issues around density land use designations, that these local area plans, they don't have land use designations, like the current harmonized OCP local area plans do have sub land use designations. We're not proceeding with that. There's just the one level of land use designations, and that's defined in Schedule A and then mapped in Schedule L. And then we have had feedback from area directors as well, comments around the connection to the community design projects. And so there is a general action and relative to all local area plans that speaks to the need to further develop development permit guidelines related to form and character, and to link in those design charrettes, that work that has taken place in various communities, but that the actual development permit guidelines themselves will be located in the zoning bylaw itself. And then in Area E, we recognize that the heritage candidates that are currently listed in the DE plan will be moved to the Area F plan because of their proximity to Paul-D. Sorry, just having my problems here with, okay, so now I'll just go through briefly some key points from each of the advisory planning commissions just to make sure we're capturing their involvement. So the key points that they've raised are on the left-hand side of the screen, and you can see the correlation to the change on the right-hand side. So actions and objectives were added related to road safety and traffic calming. This is really something that sort of transcends all the local area plans. A general action related to heritage to sort of recognize the uniqueness of the area, particularly in relation with First Nations. And then as well, a general streetlights policy, including dark sky standards, has been applied largely as a result of feedback from the Area A APC as well as others. And always active transportation is as a key point that we hear on, so really highlighting that in the concept plan, which will be presented in a future slide. In Area B, the acquisition of Old Baldy Mountain Park was added as an objective. Again, road safety and traffic calming actions. And then the uniqueness of the emergency detour, like the detours around Malahat, when the Malahat, is closed, and how that impacts and the need to plan for that. And then a deletion of a draft amenity, which was the pool or library. We received the pretty clear comments from Area B APC to remove that as a desired amenity. In Area C, again, removing the proposed amenity of a pool or library to add area-specific design guidelines, and then to really sort of focus in on those active transportation actions and specifically identifying certain roadways or key pathways that are of importance. In Area D, focus on the four-ways intersection and the need for safety there, amenities related to public access to the waterfront and trails, and again, highlighting that active transportation route. In D and E, we incorporated fish-friendly in the vision and a policy action. This was a strong, something we heard really strongly from the D and E APCs in this regard. Advocacy to MOTT for safety of walking and cycling. The desire for a design charrette. This is an area that hasn't benefited from one, and they spoke of that desire. And then they also, we worked with them to develop a cross-section rendering of what industrial with accessory residential uses would look like. In Area F, we amended the description and the history sections to recognize the unique geography and characteristics of the area, and also those sort of outlying areas such as Kaikous, which is not recognized, or which is not within the local area plan, but we still wanted to have a place to recognize that. Open space action, general one was added related to parkland. Remove the library amenity, as that was not something that the community, that the APC thought was important to the community, but adding the need for daycare and preschools as future amenities. Note here as well, the area APC pointed out a discrepancy in the LAP boundary, and so this has been corrected and will be tabled next time the Schedule L is brought forward. So the area circled in here is included in the LAP, that Walton Road area, and that will be corrected in the next update of the OCP. Moving on to Area G, removing the library as a draft amenity, prioritizing the maintenance of existing beach access points, recognizing, the uniqueness of Area G being a one-way in, one-way out, and the need for a third access road, removing a proposed amenity of a pedestrian overpass, and supporting dark sky policies. Area H helped us to refine the description of the diamond, to sort of add nuance to the heritage candidates, to explain that we are recognizing heritage candidates that are outside of the actual local area plan area, but we still want to have a place where we do recognize them. And then again, the concept plan was refined after ground truthing the location of Bush Creek with Staminas First Nation staff. In Area I, again, a description refinement. There were comments related to removing heritage candidates, which we have not at this point followed through with that request, because I should explain too, we have 3 different levels of heritage. So we have the highest level of heritage designation, which is a tool under the Local Government Act. There's only 3 sites in the electoral areas that fall under that, and they are Fairbridge Chapel and School, the Couch and Bay Lawn Tennis Club, and in Shawnigan Lake, the Kinsett Lime Kiln. The next level down is the Community Heritage Register, and those are sites that have particular importance, and they come before the board after research has been done, and to sort of present and sort of get the board approval for that recognition. Heritage candidates are sort of a recognition of the potential of being located on a heritage. On the Community Heritage Register. So there's not a sort of a minimum level that needs to be met in order to be a heritage candidate. If it's a special place and is been brought forward, then we have included it. Back to Area I here, so removing the library as amenity and then adding preschool and education facility and gathering places. And with Area I, there were similar concerns with Area F around the LAP boundary, but in this case it was why is the local area plan boundary not consistent with the growth containment boundary? So I just have a map for the next page which shows that the circled areas, so first you see Bald Mountain, is not in the growth containment boundary. It's not covered by those red dots, which indicates the GCB, but it is in the local area plan just for its significance, the trails, the park, the amenities that it offers. And then the subdivision, quite close on the right-hand side of the screen by Neva, I believe it's Neva Road, is not in the local area plan because of its sort of removed. It's geographically removed from the local area plan otherwise, but because of its density, is in the growth containment boundary. One other point I'll make before I pass it on to Chelsea and Aaron is that we are also continuing to review the draft local area plan specific to refinement of languages related to infrastructure. There are certain times where language matters in terms of private or public systems, on-site systems, and where strata fits into that. So we recognize that there are some delicate corrections that need to be made to sort of clarify that across the board, and we will be undertaking that. So now I'm just going to quickly introduce, so Chelsea Whitty from Dialogue is going to be presenting on the draft local area plans. And really the highlight she's going to touch on is this is not the full table of contents of the draft local area plans, but the complete community's 2 deliverables around the policy actions, the concept plans, and the First Nations contributions. And then she'll pass it over to Aaron Licker, who's going to present the implementation, monitoring, and reporting plan. And then at the end, we'll come back. I've got a few slides on next steps and recommendations. So with your indulgence, Mr. Chair, can I pass it over?
Please do.
Thank you, Ali. Bringing up my screen. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for that introduction. I'm happy to be here to present the progress of the work that we've been providing CVRD on the LAPs. I'm going to start with Area A, Mill Bay. So a lot of the updates for Mill Bay Area A reflect the strong community interest in improved waterfront access and trail connectivity. You see on the slide that there is the cover page. Here we go. The concept plan you see on the right now highlights future potential for oceanfront walkways as one of the examples of the actions that are illustrated in this plan that is a potential future, a way that it can be represented on the map based on the land use designations. This is in particular through a potential partnership with Brentwood College, as well as redevelopment along the shoreline. Another example you see in the table is an infrastructure action, which also proposes coordinated servicing strategies across Mill Bay, Cobble Hill, and Shawnigan Lake as an opportunity to explore to support future growth and affordability. In Shawnigan Lake, the LAP emphasizes public access to the lake, of course, and expanding the active transportation network. These are represented again on the concept plan that is illustrative and conceptual in nature, and we recognize that many of these elements may change and certainly don't represent final designs or specifications or approvals, but as a way to communicate some of the ideas that are represented in the actions. In addition to public access to the lake, there's also strong alignment with past community design work. And as a result, we've integrated recommendations from the Shawnigan Lake design charrette into new design permit guidelines to reinforce the village character and support placemaking if that action is implemented. Cobble Hill, their local area plan draft continues to build on its strong heritage and community identity. The local area plan proposed actions highlight heritage designations as potential opportunities for several core buildings and prioritizes expansion of the cycling infrastructure to support complete community and walkability. As well with Mill Bay and Shawnigan Lake, infrastructure planning is coordinated as a potential opportunity across the three to support shared servicing solutions in alignment with other strategic documents. For Area D, Cowichan Bay, the local area plan places a strong emphasis on enhancing the waterfront experience from expanded public access to tourism amenities like washrooms and a welcome kiosk, just as one of the examples. Heritage recognition and public realm design guidelines reinforce the community's identity as well as its identity as a working seaside village. And this again builds upon the previous charrette work with the community. For Area DE, Eagle Heights, Coxila Village, these two areas and the local area plan draft continue to reflect a unique rural, industrial, commercial character. And the draft local area plan proposes accessory residential uses within the industrial areas, not to replace it, but to support economic development and access to housing for people who are participating in those employment and economic actions. There also is an emphasis on placemaking and actions around completing design guidelines to support the overall look and feel, and actions dedicated to environmental considerations such as fish-friendly action plans. A public place study is also proposed to identify future recreation and green space needs as the community continues to grow into the future. For Area F, Honeymoon Bay and Missachi Lake, Paldi area, this local area plan focuses on open space access, year-round tourism, and heritage preservation, among other actions. And it also recognizes that the local area plan is one small portion of the vast area that Area F represents and what it means to its residents. New actions include supporting initiatives such as dark sky community policies and developing heritage descriptions for areas like Central Park, the school, and the Missachi Arboretum. And this is all foundation for the inclusion in potential inclusion in the Heritage Register. Area G, Saltaire, emphasizes shoreline access and active transportation networks, generally speaking. And some of the highlights from the actions is the clear direction to prioritize improvements to existing beach access points that we heard from the community through the consultation process, and to explore opportunities such as acquisition of Davis Lagoon as a future beach and education site. The concept plan that you see also highlights pedestrian and multi-use pathways developed to improve local connections. Area H, Diamond's plan supports improving connections as well as expanding bike and pedestrian networks, or through expanding bike and pedestrian networks. And while infrastructure constraints are acknowledged and remain consistent, the LAP outlines long-term opportunities for land dedication and advocacy to MOT. And then, as Ali had mentioned, we did get some input from APC, which resulted in us verifying locations of Bush Creek and updating the concept plan to ensure that the conceptual representation was realistic for what was on the ground in the community. And finally, Area I, Yubo Mead Creek, prioritizes social infrastructure and climate resilience with supports for amenities such as new childcare, community, and cultural facilities. Some of the highlights from the actions that are shown on the concept plan are related to transportation and open space, framed around advocacy again, so supporting partnerships with MOT, as well as the Subasset Nation to deliver a connected multi-use path network and safer road infrastructure. So just highlights to capture your attention, and more details are provided in the drafts that are available on planyourcowichan.ca. So this next section, I'd like to highlight the contribution of First Nations communities who we met with and consulted with So as examples, from local area plans A, B, and C, First Nations languages and translations have been integrated to reflect the values in the local area plans. So what you can see here are vision translations developed in collaboration with Malahat Nation for Mill Bay, Shawnigan Lake, and Cobble Hill. So just to emphasize that these statements are intended to reflect deep teaching and to remind us that everything in nature is part of our family and that all things are connected and that our goal is to bring the environment into balance through all these different considerations. Including these in the plans helps to ground the planning work in the local Indigenous perspectives and knowledge and acknowledges the responsibilities that we share as stewards on the land. Also included, in addition to the translation of the vision, are Malahat Nation place name translations. So this is a shot from the draft local area plans. So this incorporates traditional place names and their meanings in 2 languages, and I will do my best in terms of pronunciation. So Holkuminam and Senchosen. This includes names like Malaxel, which refers to the Malahat Reserve and meaning caterpillars. So Kiilis, a traditional clam digging area. So as you go through the local area plan drafts and take a look at the details included on the concept plans, you will see highlighted in there where these traditional place names are located. So it's more than just a geographic reference. We hope that by including these that we're expressing the long-standing cultural relationship to place and reinforcing the value of Indigenous knowledge and land use planning. And finally, this last excerpt from the Mill Bay local area plan illustrates we've started to embed First Nations history into the plan narrative as well, and this is ongoing work that will be completed into the fall. So it does detail the important cultural areas and harvesting areas. So for example, in Mill Bay, Verdier Point and the southern shoreline of the Malahat Reserve, and it explains traditional practices such as using cedar and balsam branches for herring roe harvesting. So again, these are not just historical references. They're intended to represent living connections that will continue to inform identity, stewardship, and food systems as the plan is implemented and the community takes ownership of it. Additionally, it's also an example of focusing Mill Bay within the context of how this history is integrated across the local area plans in all of the areas and how those are connected. With that, I'm happy to pass it on to my co-collaborator, Aaron, who will provide an update on the implementation, monitoring, and reporting plan. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Chelsea. I assume you're gonna I'll share my screen then. My apologies. We'll get to my drilling content in 1 second here after a brief review of everything we've just covered. Thank you. So today I'm here to discuss the implementation, monitoring, and reporting plan. This fundamentally is a document that serves to track the progress of the LAPs over time, specifically their implementation. The construction of this document was a bit challenging as we needed to capture many potential policies and actions, of which only some of them are within the CRD jurisdiction. Additionally, some of these are already captured in the MOCP, And we also wanted to align with the Complete Communities grant. So we ended up with a series of indicators or metrics that we think are effective. We also wanted to make sure that they were measurable, or the CBRD staff were able to monitor them over time themselves, so they were occasionally simplified. The fundamental construction of them really relied on us relaying them back to the goals and objectives of the LAPs, both from the community standpoint and again from the Complete Communities framework. Here's an overview of all the metrics. We had 10 in total. I'll cover them off in detail, but here they are for overview's sake. And they're binned into the categories you see here: residential, amenity, open space actions, along with transportation actions, environmental actions, and employment and economic actions. So the residential action that I'm showing here that we felt was an effective one to monitor for the LAPs was the portion of units that are multi-unit within the local area plan boundaries. This is an important indicator and really supports some of the broader goals of the OCP, providing a broader range of housing for all local area plan areas. And it's a great proxy for housing affordability, sustainability, and servicing efficiency. The baseline for this indicator was from the Complete Communities local area plan profile, and we suggest this be remeasured annually or every 5 years. For each of these metrics, I have an example measurement. The one I'm showing here is for Area D, Eagle Heights, which is, Cowichan Bay, which is the percentage of dwellings that are multi-unit there, which currently is at 11%, which is quite high for the CVRD. And then the percentage that are accessory dwelling units, this would be detached suites or secondary suites, which is at 5.1%. The second metric we have is access to amenities. This is a metric that directly reuses information from the Complete Communities local area plan profiles, and this metric is as such in line with the Complete Communities guide, and really is there to help serve again as a proxy for understanding how an LAP can move towards a reduced automobile dependency, enhance quality of life, and increase community engagement. These types of metrics we measured annually or every 5 years, as the case may be. On the right here, we used Area B as an example measurement. This just shows the quantity of homes that are within a 7.5 minute drive of an amenity. As you can see here, there's just a small gap for library and grocery store in Area B. The third metric that we had was access to shorelines. This one we measured in 2 different ways. What we saw through the LAP process was that shoreline access was very important for all residents in the region. And there wasn't that direct measurement in the Complete Communities baseline report. So this implementation and monitoring plan was a good opportunity to stick that one in there. As everyone knows, and as we saw in the previous component of this meeting, shorelines are a fantastic amenity for all residents. They promote health and well-being, and they reinforce a sense of place, and they're valued for multiple objectives. The baseline that we used for this metric was the 2021 census and current shoreline information. It's actually a little bit challenging because shorelines actually move around a fair bit because of dynamic processes. And we suggest this can be remeasured every 5 years, starting with the 2026 census population. Our example measurement is for Area F, and in that area, there's 28.1 hectares of waterfront park that's within a 10-minute walk of the LP boundary. So what that literally means, if you walked away from the local area plan and inside of it, you'd be able to access 28.1 hectares of park space. Further, we measured shoreline access points, and these were parks or trails that are under jurisdiction of the CVRD, and we noted that in Area F, for instance, 22% of residents were within a 10-minute walk of a shoreline access point. The fourth metric we looked at was the quantity and quality of park space. Again, we're trying to directly support the LAP here. And so we looked at this from a perspective of park quality and more narrowly around the amount of amenities within these parks. The theory is that the more amenity rich parks are within an area, the greater residents will have access to these amenities. They'll have greater potential for physical activities and respite from their daily lives. This metric we suggest can be remeasured annually as new infrastructure is located or implemented, and the data comes from both the CVRD and publicly available sources. Our example measurement here is for Area I, which has obviously a massive amount of parkland and 2 amenity-rich parks. For this assessment, we considered amenity-rich as any park that had more than 6 park assets. Assets in this case are benches, swings, playgrounds, water fountains, boat launches, picnic areas, and the likes. And in total, we measured 21 park amenities in Area I. The fifth metric that we have here is the provision of trail infrastructure, both on and off-road. So on-road trail infrastructure, these are trail infrastructure that's adjacent to a road, and off-road are unpaved trails, or occasionally paved trails as well. And we wanted to measure the quantity of these trails on a per capita basis. We measure this per capita because the theory is you can have a lot of trails, but if you have too many people, they might get crowded. So you want to have a level provision that's adequate. We suggest remeasuring this one in 2029 as implementation for various trail projects gets underway. Our example measurement is for Area C here. Currently, right now, there's 14.8 kilometers of trails within the LAP area. There's an additional 1.9 kilometers planned through the potential expansion of the Cowichan Valley Trail. On a per capita basis, this means 4 kilometers of trail per 1,000 residents of existing trail infrastructure, and 4.5 kilometers per 1,000 residents of existing and planned trail infrastructure. The sixth metric was a minimum distance to park and ride facility. This metric was effectively unique to Area H and was reflecting the stated desire of residents to have greater access to transit services. We note that access to park and ride facility can facilitate a shift to more sustainable modes of travel and indeed have quite a good effect on greenhouse gas emissions because obviously long distance coach travel is far more efficient by bus than by single occupancy vehicle. Right now, Area H, 0% of residents are within a distance of a park and ride facility, but we have a very long note here on the screen. I won't read it out in detail, but I will note that if Electoral Area H does decide, if the CRD board decides to extend transit service to Electoral Area H, then this metric would improve dramatically, and most residents of the would be within a distance, a driving distance of a park and ride facility. For metric 7, this is nighttime reflectance. So this metric reflects the stated desire of many LAPs for dark skies. We know that darker skies are very effective for a variety of environmental reasons. They also speak to energy efficiency and obviously can maintain the rural character of many of these communities. The baseline for this data, actually hard to find a satellite that traverses the Earth at night, but there's one here with a very long name. We took a snapshot on a very, very clear and cold night, which was January 28th, 2025. You want to take these shots usually in winter and on the clearest night possible, so you get the best measure of light emission from ground-based sources. And what we have here is both Area D and Area G as example measurements, and they're both very low, 1.6 watts per hectare for Area D and 2.0 watts per hectare for Area G. By comparison, Town of Lake Cowichan would be somewhere around 21 watts per hectare, and the Capital Regional District would be 100 plus. The next metric, this one's germane to area I, although there are elk throughout all the CVRD. Basically, elk are both a occasional benefit and nuisance to CVRD residents, and elk management is a concern. The baseline for this metric was from the 2014 Roosevelt Elk Monitoring Plan. This plan is being updated right now, and I think the expected completion is 2026. So a new management objective will be in place. But in 2024, the population estimate in Area I was 275 elk. The target population, so that's a population which doesn't exceed 60% of the carrying capacity of the area, is 269 elk. So that's actually a great population to have. Right now, Area I, occasionally elk are transplanted from that area to other parts of the island because it's a very productive and healthy area. The second last metric is the quantity of dwellings and employment lands. This one is relevant to Eagle Heights. The goal here, of course, is locating folks close to where they work, and especially which has great benefits for transportation and allocation of, the provision of low-cost housing for residents. The baseline for this was from BC Assessment and the MOCB land use data. It can be remeasured annually. In Area DE, we counted 476 dwellings from BC Assessment, and we noted that 72 of these were on OCP designated employment lands. That translates to a value of around 15.1%. The goal here would be to see that number go upwards in the coming years. And finally, we have a metric around retail sufficiency. We know that local shopping and shopping close to home is a fantastic proxy for reduced transportation emissions, for community cohesion, and of course a robust local economy. How we measured this was we looked at the market potential of all residents in the LAP. So what that means is we looked at the average household spending of all those residents. We totaled it up for retail, that is. And then we looked at how much square footage or retail area there was in an area, and we compared that to a market potential benchmark. The benchmark that we're looking for here is basically $1,000 per square foot. What that means is you have about $1,000 of spending for each square foot of retail in your area. For Area A, they're about $592 a square foot, which means it's pretty good. It's well spotted retailing. If there is reduced square footage, then that ratio would go upwards towards 1. That's all I have for the metrics. So I'm happy to open up for some discussion.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, I do have a next steps and a recommendation slide, but if you wanted to proceed with questions of the presenters, I'll leave it up to you.
I look to the committee. Director Martman.
Just a quick question on shoreline. We had a workshop this morning talking about shorelines. Do you include river or creekside as a shoreline?
We sure do.
Because we have an area in the Diamond, we have a CVRD park or community park that has a creek going through it. So, right in the middle of the Diamond.
Okay, I will double check to see if that one got included.
Okay.
I'm not sure actually, so we'll get back to you on that one.
All right, thanks.
Director Acton.
Thank you, Chair. Am I able to ask questions on the first presentation?
You've got Ms. Garnett at the lectern, so fire away.
Good. Okay. Thank you so much. I find this really hard to to move along. When we're just getting pieces of the LAP process, but I did hear a lot of the feedback or when we were going through the areas one by one, a lot of comments included heritage and form and character. So I'm glad that the form and character is going to be addressed for those who have charrettes in the zoning bylaw. And the heritage, clearly we need a proper heritage strategy, because currently, like in Shawnee and Lake, we just lost our first school because we didn't have one. And we're about to lose some really significant heritage features on Easter Seals property as well. So clearly history is important to all of us in all our areas. So I hope that that's coming. But one thing I did notice that some of the local area plans had, but mine didn't, Area B didn't, was some highlights of park amenities or projects that they wanted to see. Like I know maybe perhaps Area B didn't have anything such as the relocation of the boat launch and improvements to Government Wharf Park and Masons Beach, because we've just done a big parks strategy with concept plans. Or is there any thought on that, or can we add today a priority of the boat launch relocation? And it's also mentioned in our design charrette from CBRD staff as a priority because of the safety issues that we have there.
Ms. Garnett?
Thank you, through the chair. The summary that I provided on the APC feedback really would have only addressed where the APC had concerns or wanted changes and when we made those changes. So there is in the draft Area B LAP, there are open space actions that do speak to public waterfront and beach improvements and relocating the public boat launch. So it's possible that there's content there that I didn't address because it's there. It hasn't been changed from an original draft, but that is captured.
Okay, great. Thank you. Maybe we can talk offline about some of the photos that are chosen. Are we open to changing some of them?
Ms. Garnett?
Yes, gladly. We did get feedback from some of the APCs with, their replacement photos if they wanted to. So yeah, more than happy to receive
so maybe
that.
mine will match. I'll send you an email on that one. Thank you.
Great. I've got myself and Director McClinton. Quickly, I wanted to ask, I'm pretty sure I heard you mention in one of your slides that Neva Road was part of an Area I LAP. I'm pretty sure I saw something like that, and I'm pretty sure Neva Road's in Area F. So if we could have that checked and corrected. And I'm sure it's got to be listed, and I don't know whether it didn't come up because it wasn't a change, but on heritage sites, did we have any reference to the Paul D. Sikh Temple?
Yes.
You did? Okay, good.
Yeah, we will check, but yes, that is definitely one.
Okay, I'll go to Director McClinton next. As soon as I make your mic live. There you go.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, just to say congratulations. This is a big marker, completing the grants that were handed out by UBCM and, getting to this point, are we doing years or decades? We're counting. We're getting there. It's been a long time, so congratulations. Quick comment. Love to see those numbers on dark skies. Anybody that's ever had a chance, it's the best. So I encourage all the other communities to work towards it. It's wonderful. Just one point, maybe we need to just to chat about it offline, that third road, advocating for it. I distinctly remember those conversations at the APC, but I think at most there may be a small minority of people that would want that third road. I know there was one removed, and a long time ago that was the plan, to have a road go basically through Stocking Creek and up to connect to the recycling center there. I think they were looking at it more as an emergency, but I don't know how you have an emergency road that isn't an actual road, so maybe rework that one piece a little bit, but we can chat about that offline. That's it, thank you.
Thanks. So I think next steps are what you had next. So perhaps you could go into that and we might generate some more questions from directors following that.
Sure, happily. So I'm just sharing my screen again. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So during the summer, we will be doing referral of the draft LAPs, community planning related to the comprehensive zoning bylaw. There's obviously some direct linkages there. And then also with the implementation of the active transportation plan and the parks and trails type amenities. So we'll be referring to all the divisions that you see on the screen, as well as doing some general updates as required. Although we do hope to make as many changes that have been identified around infrastructure, as well as photo replacements if needed before the board meeting next week. So updating it in time for that, so we get on that right of way, and that version is what's submitted to the UBCM for our complete communities. We want to get as accurate as we can within the time that we have, but there is opportunity for further updates as needed in the summer. And then in the fall, we plan to present the full draft LAPs as well and agency referrals. There is option for further engagement if needed. We have been engaging, over the years. We have done an online survey with mixed uptake. We have it really engaged heavily with advisory planning commissions. And that's been in part because of the technical nature of the studies that have been under review, but also seeing that declining engagement that we're seeing in the communities. But that is out there should the board wish that. And then looking to bring forward the LAPs for first reading after the OCP is adopted. And so I will just advance the slides to just be clear on the recommendation. So the first is that the CVRD board receive the Complete Communities Grant 2 Implementation Monitoring and Reporting Plan. That's that primary UBCM deliverable. And that secondly, that these draft local area plans with changes as we've outlined from the local area plan engagement process be accepted. And that's just to give us a sense that we're on the right path as we continue to finalize in advance of presenting in the fall. So I will lower my screen.
I would entertain questions, comments at this point by pressing the button on your microphone base. Director McClinton, didn't you say you had to leave at a certain time? I'll go to Director Martman first.
That's fine.
No, I'm good.
Director Martman.
Thank you. And when I read the report and I having gone through this and listening and watching my community engage or not engage in some ways, there's I think indication that that optional engagement from my perspective is really needed and in the local area plan at the Diamond, and we have a Diamond Hall, so it all works together because there's pieces here that I don't want to be the person. I like the term ground truthing. Like the idea of access to shoreline is just something I caught, but there's things that if you want ownership of a community. So part of my question to you is, who is this document for? Who is this intended for? The people living in the local area plans, or is this who is the audience that this is intended?
Ms. Garnett?
That's a really lovely question. I mean, I would say for an OCP or local area plan, it is the community's plan. It is supposed to represent the community's visions and aspirations and how we're going to achieve that. But it is ultimately the board that adopts it. So I would say there's aspects of both. Yeah.
And so just to follow up, because there will be things that I'm sure you'll love to hear, and maybe you've heard some of them before, about a heron rookery. Don't go there, in the Diamond. And those are the kind of things that, if you want a ground truth, it's really the community will come forward with those types of things. I think they would love to be a no fireworks zone for another area, like things that though aren't really articulated, but I think if you sit with them and go through things, because the piece of this links the MOCP to local area plan, but the truth will actually be in the comprehensive zoning bylaws too, because that will also, and I think this is an opportunity to maybe lay the groundwork for that coming, in the optional engagement. I don't know if I'm adding too much, but I think sort of trying to put it into context, it's hard enough to sort of grasp one thing at a time, but they're all linked. So anyways, I don't know if you have a comment about, am I asking too much if you're sort of weighing the whole thing together, MOCP, LAP, as part of an educational process?
Right. Through the chair, yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot. We do try to communicate these separate pieces and their connections. It is something that is challenging to communicate to the public about which piece, what plan, what bylaw, how they're nested, how they fit, and how they are, their unique roles as well. I do think generally for engagement that if it is the board's direction for us to continue with local area plan engagement, that we would need to come back with a staff report to sort of outline necessary resources, budgets, that kind of thing. And it would be good to get direction from this committee on what the expectations would be in regards to further engagement. Sort of explaining that, I guess, hierarchy, I'll say, of, OCP, local area plan zoning bylaw is something that we try to do in all of our engagement because, because of that sort of ongoing difficulty with the, general public navigating these sort of planning documents.
I'll go to Director Segal, first time speaker, then to Director Acton.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for all of this information. I really appreciate the tracking process of the LAP over time. Because when I read documents like OCPs and the LAP, I'm like, well, yeah, of course that's what I want. I want all of those things. And I kind of think electoral area directors before me have been trying to get those things for a long time, especially seeing, partner with Brentwood College in Area A, and that feels like that's been attempted for a long time and we haven't gotten anywhere. So I'm glad that there's, we're going to have an actual process to track the changes and see how we get on our trails and beach access, these things that are important really across the region. I just want to comment on the idea of doing another round of public engagement. I mean, just reading in your report, this is the culmination of 4 years of work that's, has had community circles, ideas fairs, lots of APC engagement. And from, I started on an APC, and every question we had was about the zoning bylaw. And I've gone and attended these community circles and ideas fairs, and it feels to me like 97% of the public's questions are that's for the zoning bylaw. And, I'm not a planner. The majority of the public are not planners. These big documents are, really technical and hard to digest, whereas the zoning bylaw is going to feel like rubber's hitting the road. This is actually where we can execute the things that we want to see happening in our community. So I really wouldn't want to delay the adoption of these LAPs any further. And I'd want to move the work along and get to the CZB. Thanks.
Director Acton.
Thank you, Chair. Personally, I think the APCs have done a lot of work. They've been consulted throughout this whole process, and any kind of consulting and collaboration deserves the final, the end of the circle there, the final loop that loops them in to, okay, here's the final plan. We've taken all of your information that you've provided us, and some of them, I had a couple had to leave because some of the demands early days were just so big of their time. So I think just going back to them, because they have educated themselves, they do, and I feel like they're more educated than myself. So to have that final input that here's the final product, I think would be very valuable, and I would support something along those lines. And I also wanted to mention the local area plan boundaries. There was some public input, and then it made me just wonder, have we, when I look at the local area plan boundary for Shawnigan Lake, I'm not aware of any of the zoning changing. So somebody had mentioned that there's zoning changing. So being sure that we understand that, I think, is really important to me.
Thank you, Director Acton. Director Nicholson, next.
Thank you. So I would like to remind me, you might have to remind me, I would like to change a few photos. It doesn't speak to me. But in general, I'm a little, and I don't want to be negative, but I am a little disappointed in this local area plan for Eagle Heights, Coast Island, because I know my APC spent a lot, they have a vision. And I think it was shared by the D folks that they met with to do this. And I think what's happened is it's very much driven by the assessment grant that we got, right? So we're reporting back on that. But as you said, it's supposed to be a sort of an inspiring plan for a place. And I guess, I think I read in one of the minutes from one of the APCs, and I think it was Area B, who said that they had a problem with the MOCP because some of the policies seemed to conflict with one another. And I kind of get that, because when you're, at one place you want more housing, and another one you want environmental protection, and yeah. So from my perspective, when you get to a local area plan, yes, I agree you don't want to be redundant and repeat what's in your MOCP, but it's an opportunity to highlight which of the policies are so important for that local area plan. So we have this vision that is, and fish friendly as being, we have coho in the ditches in the industrial area. So it's like we need to make sure we remain fish friendly and, make that better. So it strikes me that we should be emphasizing that in the local area plan, or at least highlighting it, so that people, instead we've highlighted other important things, yes, but nothing that creates this overall vision, from my perspective. And so, yeah, I think we could, it could be rejigged a little bit more to be more, to really bring back those policies, just to highlight them, that's where we would go to talk about them. I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah, it's kind of like, it feels like it's a status quo kind of plan, and it's a very passive, we'll move forward maybe if someone comes in with a development proposal that allows us to do something, but it doesn't speak to me as we have this vision for this community, and things are going to change, and we're going to move it forward. That's kind of where I'm at. Other than that, I would like to see it go out back to my community, and I'm quite prepared to host a meeting and do it with, for that area. But I do think we need to close the loop. Yeah.
May I respond?
Go ahead.
So certainly on the photos, yes, please send them. Again, I just wanted to make sure it was clear that all the full APC comments that were shared are in the attachment, so you can go through those one by one. And then, yeah, I'm sorry you're disappointed. I mean, that's not, what we're going for when we're, presenting these documents, although they are still in draft, so there's still opportunity. I think the difficulty is, again, I think, and you highlighted it on that, not avoiding that redundancy with Schedule A, and those Schedule A policies are across all electoral areas. So, really, how do we balance a prioritization in one area. I think that we might run into some struggles with that when the Schedule A is supposed to reach all of them. But I will leave it to the board to direct further engagement, and we will see what we can do to sort of to get it right, or as close to right as we can.
I've got Director McClinton next, then myself. Director McClinton.
Perhaps just, for the folks at home or even the board, just maybe just quickly summarize where we're at in the process, because we had the OCP, we sent that back to our APCs and we didn't do first reading. And then, so this local area plan ideally would have come after that. So I don't want to say cart before the horse, but it's a separate piece, but naturally comes afterwards. And so is that where we're at right now in the process? Can you just speak to that for folks at home?
Ms. Garnett.
Yeah, sure. So the draft OCP, which is all schedules except for this local area plan, Schedule B, was given first reading by the board in December 2024, was presented in March, and then sent for Advisory Planning Commission referral. So we will be tabling that in front of committee shortly, an updated draft and a sort of a summary of the feedback we've received from the Advisory Planning Commissions. Certainly, we won't be moving forward with any type of first reading of these local area plans until after we're in a really good place with the OCP, looking at adoption really. But we do need to have been in development at the same time, just due to the length of time it takes to develop these plans.
And just a quick comment, I'm on with this local. I know with the OCP, I had different things that I was hoped happened, but there's so few things in Saltaire. We're pretty happy community. I think it reflects us pretty closely. So whether we, if we're sending it back to APCs, maybe give us the option like we did with the OCP. I don't think my APC needs to see this again, but I'm certainly supportive of the other board members that want their communities to have a look at it, right? So, but I'm ready to move forward with it. So just wanted to let people know where I stand.
Thank you, Director McClinton. So I guess just in hearing the comments from around the table, I don't know that I'm struggling with the fact that we're doing something new in that we've MOCP for 9 electoral areas, then LAPs that we're trying not to be redundant with them in relation to the MOCP. This is a new process for all of us, and I'm used to you do the OCP and you follow up with the zoning, and they're sort of zoning's on the heels of the OCP, and there's a continuity and a flow to it. This has been a bit of a slow flow, I guess. We've had the HOCP, MOCP, now the LAPs, and beginning of the comprehensive zoning. And I understand it's hard to do a joint MOCP to cover all the areas and have it reflect the individuality, which we're trying to do in the LAPs. And I can tell you that my community and my APC don't feel like the LAP is broad enough, bold enough, big enough. And so I struggle with this. So I know where we're at in this process, and we have to report to UBCM. I get that. I also agree with my colleagues that we need to complete the circle, put a bow on it, have the community look at the work that's been done. And ideally, I would like to see us positioned with the MOCP at a second or third reading, the LAPs getting to a second or third reading, and having a fairly good draft comprehensive zoning bylaw that we could take to the community and say, see, this is the MOCP, this is our LAPs, and here's the regulatory stuff that's going to make all that come to life. And so I would ask if staff are able to provide us with a report that shows us how we can get out to our communities again, Some clearly need to make sure that it's before their communities for a little bit, not necessarily for a whole bunch of changes and input, but just to confirm that the work that we're doing, that we've done, is reflective of what the community wants. And then I think if we can do that, then we can get to the zoning and get that completed fairly quickly. So I'm asking for a little bit more engagement with the community, much along the lines as has been described. I could even see it doing it sub-regionally if we needed to cut down on the number of meetings that are required. So could staff come to us with a budget, come to us with a schedule and a means by which we could get out and show the community the nearly completed work? That's my question. Oh, seat 27. Ms. Churl, or Ms. Breen.
Is that it?
Ms. Breen.
Good afternoon, through the chair. We will commit to coming back to committee September 3rd with a report that outlines options on next steps for the LAPs, and we will nest that within what's happening with the MOCP and next steps on the zoning bylaw.
Cool. What's your point? Oh, jeez. You came up as Director McClinton. What's your point?
Director McClinton says his point is, I'm just wondering if that should come forward as a referral motion and be voted on. I would have some things to say about it.
Well, on the point.
Just a process question.
Yeah, and
Was that
do we
direction
have a
just given by the chair?
Let me just check. Do we have a resolution on the floor yet?
No.
We don't. Okay. So we could consider that, since staff seemed to be prepared for that, following the whatever we do with the recommended resolution here today, which I'm prepared to support. So is that a clear enough ruling for you? Whew.
So I can move the recommendations in the report.
I just, yeah, so
Sorry, you said you want us to deal with that after.
we could do that after we consider what staff need from us today, which is the recommended resolution. So we don't have anything on the floor now, so we can entertain a resolution and a seconder, which I thought I had over here. Moved and moved and seconded. Could you read the resolution, please?
The one the staff has provided.
Yes.
Thank you, not the one I'm drafting for you.
Right, correct. Would you want them separated? Okay, could you read the first one, please?
Thank you. We're under R2, recommendation number 1, that it be recommended to the board that the CVRD receive the Complete Communities Grant 2 Local Area Plan Implementation, Monitoring, and Reporting Plan.
Is there any discussion on that item? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, the motion carries. Number 2.
Number 2, that the CVRD electoral area draft local area plans with changes from the local area plan engagement process be accepted.
They were both moved and seconded. They were separated after the moving and seconding. Director Bartman.
Thank you. I was wondering if someone could advise me on the difference between the term used in the first one, receive, and the second one that says accepted.
Ms. Garnett, you look ready for that one.
Yes, I am. Through the chair, it's just language around the UBCM receiving the report, that the board received the report.
So
Yeah.
would it be acceptable if we use the word be received in number 2?
No, because we're wanting that, yeah,
Okay.
they are intentional. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, the motion carries. We have a subsequent resolution, which Ms. Breen crafted beautifully over there, which was that they would be reporting on September the 3rd, with on the MOCP, LAPs, and draft CZB? Or words to that effect? Third. No, MOCP, LAPs, and draft CZB. Look at her go. Director Segal.
Thank you, Chair. I might have just misunderstood you when you were directing it earlier. I thought you were looking for more APC engagement. And I'm just not hearing that in the resolution.
I'm not being that definitive. I think there may be further APC remarks. What I was hoping for was a report that was going to give us what Ms. Garnett had spoken about as ways that we might be able to get that, close the circle on getting this before the community, how we might meet, what budget might be required, that sort of thing, just to close the circle. And I think a number of directors said they wanted to see get this out before their community.
So that sounds
again.
like more engagement you're asking for.
It's to put it out before the community at least one more time.
Right, okay, that's just what I want to be clear.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Have you completed that on-the-fly drafting of a resolution? Could you read something to us, please?
Thank you, Chair. That it be recommended to the board that a report be provided from staff at the EASC committee meeting of September 3rd that outlines on options for the MOCP, LAPs, and draft CZB.
Is that enough? Everybody clear on the resolution? Could we have a mover and a seconder? Ms. Garnett?
They're just all draft, is I guess what I would like to say.
Yes. Yes. Director Bertman, oh, hang on, Director Segal was first.
No, sorry, I'm
Direct-
waiting to speak to it.
Okay, Director Bertman?
So I just quickly noted that it was options for the LAP nestled within the MLC and CZB, like within, so I don't, as long as that's the intent, I'm fine with the resolution, but I'm not sure the resolution's capturing it.
I'm trying not to be too specific.
Yeah, okay.
I think Ms. Breen
Right.
said it perfectly the first time, and I don't remember what she said exactly.
That's
so.
what she said.
Director Segal. Oh, we haven't had it moved or second. Can we have a mover and a seconder?
So moved.
Do we have a seconder? We have a seconder. Director Segal.
Okay, so I'm having a hard time gathering my thoughts because I hear the desire for more community engagement. I'm still not really reading it directly in the motion on the floor, but that's what I'm going to speak directly about. So I think that staff have done such a wonderful job here, and we just finished a public information meeting on the LAPs, and these just came back from our APCs in spring 2025. It was in our report. I think, you know, with these big planning processes, many times, I've sat here at this table many times when we've looked at staff and we've said, do this faster. And we've been really frustrated. And then this table, I've also sat at this table, we're like, whoa. And we put a 6-month pause and an extra $50,000. And I'm just really uncomfortable with that. And, you know, I believe profoundly in community engagement. And, you know, we approve the work plans of these endeavors that include lots of community engagement. And when those, you know, plans come forward, we're like, make sure there's lots and extra community engagement. And staff does that. And here we are almost at the end and we're like, wait, do more, even though we've literally just done it. And so it just feels a bit fiscally irresponsible to me to ask for more of what has already been done. And I also think out of respect for the public, there are really bogged down with community engagement. And they've provided their input and want to move on. Thanks.
Director Wilson.
Absolutely. 2021 we started, something like that, was it? And we've had hours, days, weeks, whatever, of public input and consultation and charrettes and everything else like that. And now to say, let's go back and ask for some more information after this long, really to me is counterproductive.
Director Nicholson.
Thank you. I would really like you to read this motion out again, please, for me. And I would also like to know, I was out of town and I couldn't attend that meeting at the community center in recently. Yeah, I was wondering how many people turned out from Area E.
May I respond to
Ms. Garnett.
Thank you. There were approximately 60 people that attended the public information meeting. We don't have a breakdown by electoral area, but I did speak to a handful of people from Area E, just knowing that, who they are, being a longstanding community member. We did feature the local area plan maps on poster boards and featured the survey and promoted the survey the local area plan online survey as much as we could. We did include it in the presentation materials as well. The LAP maps and concept maps were in the slide deck, which is all posted on Plan Your Couch as well. So that was, the primary focus of that meeting was the draft OCP, the other schedules, but Schedule B was featured at that public information meeting.
Director Martman.
Wait, can we read it out, please?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I just moved a few words around so it made a little more sense, but I think I am missing a part of it. So that staff bring back a report to the ESC meeting of September 3rd that outlines options for the draft modernized official community plan, local area plans, and the draft CZB, but I didn't capture the reasoning why. So
my listening to Ms. Garnett say that there was the potential, and I think there was a little confusion. I'm not seeking further input on the work that's been done. What seems to be desired amongst not only my APC but others is the package of all three being brought back, even though I know the zoning won't be complete and we won't have adopted the first two items. It will be the relationship of all three to one another. Zoning is the regulatory part of the first two, correct? So that was the intent, not to go and seek a bunch of input on the MOCP and the LAPs. We're almost done. But it's the three things together in relation and not necessarily a data gathering exercise, but a reporting out on this is the work that has been done to this point with the zoning to be completed. That was my thinking. Did you heard it? Do you want it read again, Director Nicholson? Keep polishing. I'll go to Director Martman.
Fine.
But his button went away. There he is. There you go.
Thanks. I'm going to speak to what I think the intent of the motion is, because the concept to me is about completion of the circle. We just spent introduction from staff, from the consultant, on getting information that's showing the complete package. And we've got that. But as staff pointed out, this is a document for the community. So for me, completing that circle back, it gets that buy-in and it gets that piece to be able to say, we just didn't check a box off to say we got engagement. We actually are going to come back, and in my case, I want to see it back, and if I have to set it up, I don't mind, back into the diamond and say, look at this. we think that this is capturing the information we've received. Is this what you visioned for your area? And for me, I don't want to wait to the public hearing part. I want to get that now, because I think when they come to the public hearing, I'd like to see people stand up there and go, yes, you know, this closed the circle for us. You know, and because I think in the end, you know, it's about creating that relationship with the community. For me, is what buys into it. It's about saying to the community, you know, we want to show you what the final product is, and not rely on going online, not relying on did I get the information or not. And so that's how I see it, and that's why, if that's the intent of this, the staff to come back and say, what's it going to cost? What's it going to look at? And if we all look at it and go like, "Oof, this is too long a timeline. This is going to cost too much," then we can turn it down then. But to turn down a staff report that would tell us this is the information we need, and that's why I would be voting in favor.
I kind of jumped to Director Martman. Director Nicholson, had you finished your thought? Your mic's still on.
Oh, well, I'm thinking again.
Okay. Well, why don't, I'm going to kill your mic. Can you press it again while you think? And we'll go to Director Deck next.
I was at that meeting where 64, I thought it was 64, around 60 people attended from all the areas, and there were people who said, we need more chairs. You only put out this many chairs, we needed more input. I don't know, more chairs, more input, I don't know. But from that night told me that people who agree with the process as it's been done and believe that's the end, they didn't come. So I would hate for us to spend more money and more time when people were given multiple opportunities for input. And closing the loop, I think, means here you are, not let's try again or do more. Here you are. That would close the loop for me and my community, I believe. So I won't be voting for that resolution.
Director Wilson.
My previous APC chair lady, Brenda Krug, served for about 10 years or probably longer. And she recently retired because she truly believed that 4 years or 5 years working with Coralie, working with Ali, was the culmination of the MOCP, HOCP, LAP, and all the other acronyms which we're using here. She truly believed she had done everything she could, and that was as far as that she could go because it had been more or less agreed. Everybody has been involved. I'm going to call her up and say, by the way, it's not over. Do you want to come back again? Well, she'd probably say no, and I wouldn't blame her because we have a new one. Honestly, what Director Deck said just now, we have closed the loop. We have involved just about every man, cat, and their dog, pets, and everything else. Let's move ahead. Let's do stuff. 4 years is long enough for anything.
Yes, Director Acton.
Thank you, Chair. I see this as a little bit of an exercise of working together. From what I got from Ms. Breen was that it was almost a logical step. She was certainly prepared to bring all those things back to us to bring us all along at the same time. So I guess my question would be to her, is this really a big ask, or was this kind of in the process anyway?
Ms. Breen, hang on, got to activate your mic. Go for it.
Through the chair to the director, our intention was to from Strategic Initiatives was come back to committee, ESC, on September 3rd to provide at that point in time, just as I stated earlier, just a general statement of here we are at this point in time with the MOCP, here's where we're at with the LAPs, here's how the CZB connects, and recommended next steps. And there would be some options on the LAP, as Ms. Garnett outlined earlier, potentially as one suggestion for some additional engagement on the LAPs. We would not be recommending any additional engagement on the MOCP. So that is our intention to do that, or was our intention prior to coming to committee, especially since we do have these pieces, and the timelines have shifted and continue to shift over time. Some things that come up, for example, like community grants, shifted the timelines on the LAPs because all of a sudden we had $300,000 more available to us. So things like that come up do shift the timelines. Adding on engagement shifts the timelines, and then it has a cascading effect on other policy development. So we just thought it would be a good time in September, given the presentation today. On July 2nd, we'll be presenting on the OCP, is just to bring a focal point, a new focal point, and then get confirmation on direction going forward on the OCP, which will have a separate staff report that day. Again, bringing forward changes and recommending to advance to second reading. On the LAPs, is it a go or no go on additional engagement, or should we just go forward for first reading? And then where are we at that point in time with the zoning bylaw? So we're going to package it together and let the committee have a discussion, and we'll go from there.
Does that answer your question, Director Acton?
Yeah, thank you. So I think accepting this resolution is almost what staff had planned, and it's a report that was coming to us anyway, and we continue to work together moving this forward. And maybe it's as simple as just giving our APCs the heads up that it's coming September 3rd before once that report's all ready. Maybe staff's able to send it to them as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Director Segal.
So I'm not against the update, that Ms. Breen just mentioned. And so I'm not really sure why we have a referral for just the plan that was already in place, which is why I feel there was this reading between the lines. Do I just need to be remembering all of my arguments to not delay the process further for that time, Ms. Breen? Yes, I'm getting the nod from Ms. Gerald. That's it for me.
I've got Director Nicholson, Martman, and myself. Director Nicholson.
I have to say I'm very confused. I really liked what Ms. Breen, how she described it. Yeah. I am not interested in opening up any engagement on the MOCP at this point. I think we just need to move this whole project forward. I just want to go, personally, I want to be able to go to the specific people who live in Eagle Heights, including the businesses, because they have not been they're not really engaged at all in this process, and be able to say, look, this is what people are thinking about this area. We think it should be fish friendly. We think there should be residential above the industrial businesses. What do you think? We think there should be more active we should be able to move around on foot more easily. What do you think? Because it's a kind of a funny area. It's got a residential on the bench above, and then it's got all this opportunity below for business. And they have to and they're very close to Duncan, and so it all has to integrate at some point, and so we need to talk to everyone. And I just want to talk to those people. And so however it works, whether I hold a meeting or do it cheaply, I can do that. if staff will come and answer some of the technical questions, or if we want to do a full, a proper, more formal thing, that's fine too. But that's what I want, and I think if that's what the motion is consistent with what Ms. Breen said, then I'm good for the motion. If not, I'm against the motion. So let me know.
Director Martin.
Well, I'd just echo Director Nicholson's comments. I'm in the same place that she is, and I guess I like what Director Acton had to say regarding, let's bring this together, let's go together on this. And Dr. Breen, I think, has indicated, and also staff, Ally, through indicating optional potential engagement down the road is something that could be considered for LAPs. But so I'm in favor if that's the intent of it. But like Director Nicholson, I thought direction to staff might be better than going through a motion, but that's where we're at.
Well, it should certainly be clear anyways. So everything that Ms. Breen has said, and echoing what Director Nicholson and what Director Markman had said, I will have to take this and show it to my community at some point. And I'm hoping that there will be some indication as to how or when that might be able to happen when we get a report on the 3rd, if this resolution is supported. If I have to have my own community meeting, I'll do that, and I think Director Martman would, and I think Director Nicholson would as well. So with that, I'll get to Director Wilson to close, and then we'll go to the question.
Confusion, total confusion here. Are we voting on a resolution which has now been clarified by Dr. Breen? Or what are we voting on here? Are we voting on a resolution which we really don't need to vote on because it's coming forward anyway? I don't know.
It's a staff report. As described by...
It's already in the work.
Yeah.
So why are we voting on it if it's already in the work?
I think it would give everyone a real clear indication as to if the staff's on the right track here. So I will call the question. Is everyone clear on what the question is? Do you want the resolution read again? Ms. Boyd.
Sorry. That staff bring back a report to the ASC meeting of September 3rd that outlines options for the draft modernized and official community plan, local area plans, and the draft CZ zoning bylaw. Correct?
Ready for the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? And we have a tie. The motion fails. I guess you're not needing to put that report forward. We're missing one.
Online.
Yeah, Jesse's gone. It's 4-4. Motion fails. Is there an alternate resolution?
Do we need one? They're going to bring forward a report anyway. They said they were. Why do we need a report turn out?
We're going to take a 5-minute break.
Trying to do our business.
Yeah. Apparently it's not time sensitive and we've still got, yeah.
We are live.
Okay, everybody, call you back to order. Looking at our schedule and what we have left today, can I have a motion to refer R4 to the July 2nd meeting? Moved. Do we have a seconder? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. That takes us to R5, which is Ms. Sherulf. Are you doing it from there? Okay.
Do we have everyone? No, we don't.
We're missing Director McClinton. Ms. Sherulf, floor is
Thank you.
yours.
So the report before you is simply an information report on the Board of Variance that is legislatively required. The Cowichan Valley Regional District, for its electoral areas, is required to have a 3-member Board of Variance. Board of Variance serves for a term of 3 years under the legislation and can consider matters that are a bit unique and different than what the CBRD board can consider. In addition to consideration of minor variances for hardship matters, they can consider structural alterations or additions to buildings where there's a non-conforming use. So that's something that the CBRD board can't do. It's quite interesting. And then the other is they can actually consider the decision of the building official on a building that has been partially destroyed usually by fire. So if a building is destroyed more than 75%, typically it's required to be constructed in accordance with current bylaws. Sometimes it's difficult to tell, has the building been destroyed 75% or more or less? And so, that can come up from time to time where an owner will, want to challenge that, and they'll bring that to the Board of Variance. So the Board of Variance, I don't have the specific stats in front of me, but the Board of Variance does meet a handful of times in any given year to consider various applications. Generally, they are applications for minor variances. And applicants do have the opportunity to consider, in the case of a variance, either coming through the board and seeking a typical development variance permit or an order from the Board of Variance. So as you may know, the current board, the members on that board were appointed in 2020 following a public ad that went out soliciting expressions of interest, and following that process, 2 members were appointed, and then a 3rd member was appointed later in the year. Those members have been subsequently reappointed, and the terms are now, on our books, they're expired, although there's a unique sort of twist in the legislation that says that if they expired and there's no successor, they actually continue. So they're a bit like senators in some ways. So that's my report, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to respond.
Director Nicholson.
I am wondering, do you advise people to use the Board of Variance versus the board? Is there a difference in timeline for looking at applications and so forth? And approximately how many did they look at last year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually get myself the questions. They would go through Development Services. The staff are should be advising prospective applicants on the option to go to the Board of Variance, particularly if it's a hardship situation. It really comes down to, in the case of a variance anyway, it's the decision of the applicant as to where they want to go. They do have the option sometimes. Typically, the process is to come through the Electoral Area Services Committee and the board, and sometimes they don't get the answer that they want, and then they can go seek a decision through the Board of Variance. And that does happen from time to time. The Board of Variance may make the same decision as the ASC and board, or they may make an alternate decision, and they do have the power to do that. In terms of, I don't think I answered the second part of your question, which is around timing. I think the timing is generally about the same length of time to either go through this process or through the Board of Variance. Michelle can answer that question. Within 2 months, perhaps?
And the question was about how many applications do they handle?
So what I'm hearing is 1 in 2024 and 2 or 3 in 2023. So it's not common.
Director Abbott.
Thank you, Chair. I can clarify there were 2 in Area D last year. I enjoyed, no, I didn't. I sat through those here. My question is along the lines of 2020, we ran an ad and you were able to get 2 + 1 showed up. Is it reasonable to perhaps be a bit more active rather than renewing memberships, to be a bit more proactive in attracting new members from our community to sit on these boards? This board specifically was, I think it was in the public comment earlier today, there's been a lot of active 3-stream outreach. And I'm thinking something perhaps not as robust as 3-stream outreach, but a bit more engagement so that we can get a better, perhaps a wider cross-section of people volunteering for these roles, which can be quite impactful on residents.
That would be, yes, through the chair, that would be, you know, the option of this body to decide what approach, you know, it wishes to take, whether that would be reappointment of existing members or soliciting expressions of interest for additional or new members. Yeah.
Is there a resolution for this? This is information. Any other questions for Ms. Gerolf? Director Martman.
So is there, is it 2 terms then that they would go to? Indefinite?
So, yeah, so the terms are for 3 years. So generally at the end of the 3-year term, we should be coming back and requesting that the board either reappoint or appoint new members. It's really at the board's discretion. And I should add that the board also has the option to rescind appointments of a Board of Variance member if, for, you know, whatever reason. Sometimes, you know, it may just want to, it might be the start of a new board term, for instance, and you want to rescind the appointments and do some sort of a public process and appoint new Board of Variance members. So that option exists. Right?
One follow-up? Is there a best practice that you're aware of around terms? I know, like, for a lot of terms of reference of committees would say 2 terms and then renew. Is there a best practice that we could follow?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with one in local government. Ms. Boyd may be familiar with. I mean, I really think it's going to vary from local government to local government. Generally, if a board is not hearing anything or hearing any concerns about their Board of Variance, that they may be inclined to continue to reappoint. If you are hearing concerns in your community, then, you know, you may want to consider a different path. Yeah.
Director Nicholson.
Well, I think we should get regular reports on how many things that they're looking at, and just for general information. And I do think it's a good idea to do a call for expression of interest in the community, because it helps raise the profile of the fact that we got one. And yeah, we may not change members, but it's a good thing to do.
I should add that one of the competing factors is that a Board of Variance member can't be an elected official, obviously, can't be a staff person, and they can't also sit on another commission, so they can't be a member of an APC or Parks Commission. And sometimes you get, you know, volunteers who are like, well, you know, I think I'd rather do the APC or the Parks Commission, and maybe the Board of Variance isn't quite as exciting, but.
Well, I know one of the board people was an old former APC member of mine.
Yeah.
He knows his business.
Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Gerolf. And that takes us, do we have any unfinished business, Ms. Boyd?
No, Chair?
No new business.
No, Chair.
That brings us to the question period, and the question period is an opportunity to offer the public to ask a question regarding the business of the CVRD. The question period allows for an allotment of 15 minutes and is comprised of 2 parts. The first is reserved for questions directly related to agenda items. If there's time remaining, questions may be on a matter of public interest related to and in the CVRD jurisdiction. Each questioner is permitted to ask 1 question plus a follow-up question related to the answer. The question must truly be a question and not a statement of opinion or speech. We request that your questions present in a friendly and respectful manner. Your cooperation in maintaining a safe, respectful, and orderly environment is greatly appreciated. And now I would ask if anyone would like to pose a question in regards to today's agenda or any other items. Come on up, sure. Welcome. Press the button on the microphone.
Just perceive that it's interesting but confusing.
Nope, press the button, yep.
I just proceeded by saying it's been very interesting but confusing. And so we're left wondering what steps we would be able to take to try to get a small rural lot designation put into salt air. So perhaps we need a petition. How many signatures? Or we can have community meetings. How many people do we need to maybe make this a possibility? I'm not quite sure.
So it's not really a question as it relates to what was discussed, but I understand your concern. And I think your first step would be to engage with your area director and with staff. There's been a significant body of work done to this point, and I think that some general discussion with your director and staff would be your next path forward. We're expecting to hear more from our staff in regards to the whole process in subsequent couple of months.
So do you mean that they could choose to do that in their process if they thought appropriate?
We approve and authorize the changes through this committee and the board.
Yeah.
And so if there is a desire and merit and possibility to do what it is that you're seeking, then there would be a report come forward or some sort of representation either by your director or by staff in regards to what you're putting forward.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Would anyone else like to ask a question? Seeing none. Ms. Boyd, what's the next bit?
Thank you, Chair. That a motion to the meeting be closed to the public in accordance with the Community Charter, Part 4, Division 3, Section 90, subsections as noted in accordance with each agenda item. And I would like to add, so CSM 1's closed session, Electoral Area Services Committee minutes of May 7th, of course. CSSR 1, it will be closed under litigation or potential litigation, subsection 1G, as well as subsection 1F, law enforcement, by law enforcement. And CSSR 2 appointments, subsection 1A.
Does Director Acton need to sign in on another sign-in, or can she stay there?
Let me just make sure everything's shut down and we can give us 5 minutes. And Director Acton, stay on.
Stay online, Director Acton. Motion as to what Ms. Boyd just said, to go into close, moved and seconded, all in favor?